connect a lot of dots between like Israel and media, right? But do you think that it's just capitalism? Like, don't you think a lot of times it's just business, and that's how business works, is that like it's one of the side effects of capitalism?
If that were the case, so the reason why this is different is because Israel is actually the exception. They are the only country that's allowed to lobby Americans. Like everyone else has to register as a foreign agent and under FARA.
Like with AIPAC or whatever?
Yeah, so AIPAC, the backstory, by the way, before JFK got shot, he was fighting AIPAC. They were previously called, I'm blanking on this, you can look it up. And he was literally saying you have to register under the Foreign Act.
Is that true? Let's look it up.
1,000% true, and you should look it up. We should fact check that live. He was fighting with what is today known as AIPAC. Was renamed AZCPA. I don't know what that stood for.
In 1959, AZCPA was renamed AIPAC and American Israel Public Affairs Committee, reflecting a broader membership and mission.
Yeah. So JFK told them that they had to register under FARA, and so American Zionist Council. That's exactly what it was called.
Okay, American Zionist Council was a pro-Israel lobby in the United States, founded in 1949. It represented 9 nationwide Zionist organizations in matters related to...
See at the bottom there? In 1962, look at the last paragraph. In 1962,
President John F. Kennedy and his brother Bobby, as a U.S. Attorney General, forced the AZC to register as a foreign agent. In doing so, they were barred from making monetary contributions to U.S. officials. Who was barred? AZC?
Yeah, so AIPAC, for lack of a better term. They were called AZC back then, but continued to send out newsletters and hold events with a nonprofit tax exemption. Mm-hmm. And then what happened was he was shot. So he literally, they were writing him letters. You can find this. This is all this is available information. And he was like, you need to register, you need to register, you need to register. And then we told you to register. Why are you not registering? This makes no sense. And then AIPAC got lucky because he got shot.
What? Also, you could
So they are the reason why I'm bringing this up is not to further conspiracy theories.
Country?
They're the only country that's allowed to lobby Americans that are not registered under the FARA Act. And so when you see these
under
people,
the what act?
FARA. So that's like if you're a foreign agent, you have to basically register, your communications are monitored, all of this stuff. But for whatever reason, Israel is an exception to this. And the reason is because JFK got shot, because otherwise they would have been under this. So that is the reason that they're allowed to do this. And so, when this, and then of course we're not allowed to read the files, but leading up to his death, he was having arguments with the Prime Minister, Ben Gurion. That's a fact, another fact. He was having heated arguments with Ben Gurion, and then look it up. JFK.
The Foreign Agents Registration Act is a U.S. law that requires people and entities working on behalf of foreign governments to register with the Department of Justice.
Mm-hmm. So it drives me insane to see these absolute frauds, like when they go, oh, Russia spent $1 million, or whatever they said. I remember they came after Lauren Chen, and they're like, there is an idea that Russia spent money, and they'll say something like $26,000, or they spent $3 million, and influenced the election. And all of these people will be taking money from AIPAC, but they're like, oh, well, AIPAC got lucky. Well, JFK got shot.
But wasn't the Russia story that was figured out to be a facade, right?
But so when you hear these people in your government saying this, you should know how fraudulent they are, because they all are taking money from Israel. And so it's like, yes, is Israel doing it legally because a president got shot? Sure, but it's wrong. A country should not be able to lobby to get what they want and control our congressmen. And but it's wrong. A country should not be able to lobby to get what they want and control our congressmen. And
hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Right. The idea of a foreign government playing in our political campaigns openly in that they're showing you they're doing it, but opaquely in that you can't track it because they're not registered. Is there any other Republican who has your views on this?
Well, I have Republicans who come to me on the floor and say, I wish I could vote with you today. Yours is the right vote, but I would just take too much flack back home. And I have Republicans who come to me and say, that's wrong what AIPAC is doing to you. Let me talk to my AIPAC person. By the way, everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What does that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are, firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
I don't know how it works on the Democrat side, but that's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them, and they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them. So I've had
that's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, "I'll talk to my AIPAC person," and it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to, dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
It doesn't benefit anybody. Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country?
That's suspicious.
My introduction to AIPAC came during my race because the election was 2020, but we launched our campaign in 2019.
Okay.
And there's an organization, a very powerful and popular organization in New York State called 100 Black Men. So they're a national organization, 100 Black Men. And they do good work across the country, good work in New York State in education and healthcare and faith-based organizations. They do a lot of great work. So the executive director of 100 Black Men reached out to me to have a meeting during my election. So I'm like, cool, absolutely, we can have a meeting. And he was like, yeah, I also want to talk to you about AIPAC. You know what I'm saying? Because I also, work with AIPAC, connecting AIPAC to members of color. And I'm like, what? So I said to the brother, I said, listen, we can meet and talk about 100 Black Men all day. I would love to learn more about your work and love to learn more about how we can maybe partner and do some stuff together, but I don't want to talk about AIPAC. He was like, okay, sure, no problem. We could do that. So we set up a meeting, and, I go to the meeting and we have a conversation about 100 Black Men, but he came with a bag and information about AIPAC, and he made sure I left with that bag. And so they, understand. So everyone needs to understand this. AIPAC has been doing this work and lobbying in Washington for 60 years. So they are very strategic and very unapologetic about how they try to not just engage current members of Congress, but anyone running for Congress and anyone running for elected office.
Yes.
Any elected office.
State.
They're going to reach out. And then
clergy.
Number one objectives is to make sure that Israel continues to receive $3.8 billion a year from the United States. That's their number one objective. So,
You cannot be for real. Oh my God, you for real. No, you for fake. No, you for real.
But it's wrong. A country should not be able to lobby to get what they want and control our congressmen. And you get to see them flex that muscle, like TikTok and things of nature, when they are now interfering with our speech, and they'll get laws passed really quickly. It allows literally a foreign country to make decisions in our nation. Lobbying should just not be allowed, full stop. So instead they go, oh, well, you're focusing on it because they're Jewish. No, you're just the only country that's allowed to do it. I would feel the same way if there was a Chinese lobby that was spending. No, there's no other country that's allowed to do this but Israel. Only AIPAC. There's no other country that everyone else has to register under the FARA Act, and that changes things significantly. AIPAC is the only, American Israel PAC, whatever it is allowed to spend $100 million in our elections and not be called names. Like could you imagine if Russia spent $100 million in our elections? If there was like a Russia PAC or a Chinese PAC, and they were just allowed to spend that kind of money to lobby and pay our politicians to say things and to believe in things. And that should make people angry. Irrespective, like I said, it could be any country.
Unless, right, I agree with you that it's amazing.
Or let them all do it.
Right. If like America is owned by Israel or something, or part ownership or whatever, just tell us that.
Right. Well, they don't want to.
That's a weird thing I don't understand. Then
you wouldn't sign up for wars. You would start to question things in a different way. And so it becomes important for the government to keep Americans ignorant of how Congress works, what's going on, so that they believe their congressman when they go on a rant and say, Israel's our friend and ally, and they don't know how to just very easily look up and see whether this guy's taking money, or when someone says, this vaccine's going to save your life, and they don't know, what's happened with the CDC, or people don't even have basic civics understanding, but that's by design.
Because I don't like what Israel, their space in Gaza, right? Like that to me is just like seems super tyrannical. But didn't they just come up with a thing today about the ICC? They can't prosecute Netanyahu?
Yeah, because he runs shit.
Is that today?
Yeah, he's like the ultimate grand gangster. He's like, even when they catch him doing the crimes and we created this court for exactly what it did, they said, you can't do this. Then they say, well, just cancel the courts. Can you imagine being like that much of a worldwide gangster? It's crazy.
You know, we're living in a society. We're supposed to act in a civilized way.
So you've all heard by now the leaked audio video of AIPAC's 2025 summit. Elliot Brandt himself admitting how he controls the administration's national security advisors. This is a threat to our democracy. Elliot Brandt is the new CEO of AIPAC, the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, taking the reins at the end of 2024 after nearly 30 years with the organization. He is the one that's steering AIPAC's massive political operation. In the leaked recording from AIPAC's Congressional Summit, Brandt brags about cultivating relationships and alliances with Trump's administration's top national security advisors, folks like Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz, and John Ratcliffe, to make sure that they follow Israel's agenda. He literally describes these people as AIPAC's lifelines in the administration. So why does this matter to all of us? When a foreign interest lobby whispers in the ears of our top national security advisors, it means U.S. policy on Iran, on Gaza, on military aid is not driven by American interests. It's driven by whatever Brandt and his board want. Under Brandt, AIPAC has poured hundreds of millions of dollars to oust progressive Democrats like Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush, who dared to question AIPAC's influence. That's not grassroots democracy. That's AIPACracy. And this undermines accountability. When Brandt bragged that he can access internal Trump White House discussions, it confirmed what many of us feared. Our elected leaders can't speak freely on Israel without risking AIPAC's wrath. And that's a direct attack on free debate. So if you believe in free elections and open debate, do all the things to keep this message going and follow for more deep dives.
That's weird.
Let's unpack all of this now with Max Blumenthal in Washington, D.C. He's an author and the editor-in-chief of the news website Grey Zone. Max, thank you so much for joining us. First off,
for having me.
Just explain exactly how powerful this AIPAC lobby is and how long they've been around, because they seem to have a lot of money to really be pushing their cause.
Well, AIPAC is one of the two most powerful lobbies in the United States, not just the most powerful pro-Israel lobbies, but most powerful lobby maybe on par with the National Rifle Association, which is associated with mass shootings, the plague of mass shootings in the U.S. AIPAC guarantees, with actually relatively small donations by their standards, that the Israelis will be able to conduct mass shootings across Palestine. So there are two things to understand about what AIPAC is doing now. Something it's always done, but which is much more insidious and somewhat desperate than in the past. Desperate because after October 7th, Israel stands exposed on the world stage. It faces enormous international pressure, and because the progressive base of the Democratic Party is turning away from the special relationship. So they're targeting progressives like Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, also particularly because they're black. They're very threatened by Black America, the organic support for Palestinians that Black America has always shown. So they always want to take out these kind of legislators in majority Black districts. But what they do is they launder their attacks and their support for the pro-Israel candidate behind a stealth pack. As I said, they've always done this, but now this is the de facto strategy. AIPAC operates behind something called the United Democracy Project. They funnel money through super PACs that have names that have nothing to do with Israel. And then they attack these candidates like Cori Bush or Jamal Bowman, who was previously defeated, not on the basis of their opposition to Israel's assault on Gaza, but on kitchen table issues or with disinformation about how they opposed Joe Biden's infrastructure bill. So these races don't actually seem to the average voter like they're being decided on the basis of Israel, but they are.
Welcome to the real world.
What do you think about this topic? I want to encourage you to be just like the people of Berea in the book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 11. These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily, whether those things were so. The Bereans verify the teachings they heard from. It's time to deepen your understanding and see your reflection within the sacred pages. Please click subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay up to date with the Berean Scholar channel.